The words hit Emma like a thunderclap she never saw coming. I don't love you. I never loved you. William's voice, usually calm and controlled, cracked like ice under pressure, cutting through the polished silence of the penthouse. The city lights flickered through the floor-to-ceiling windows, but nothing could soften the storm raging in her chest. She had poured every ounce of herself into this man, stayed up late when he worked until dawn, celebrated his victories quietly, and carried the weight of his dreams as if they were her own. And now, all of it seemed meaningless, as if she had been building castles in the air, blind to the truth he was willing to declare in one devastating breath. Her legs trembled, but she remained rooted, staring at the man she once believed could move mountains for her. William Hunter, the man whose name commanded respect and envy in every boardroom, now seemed unrecognizable, a stranger draped in the armor of power, eyes cold, lips tight, and expression unreadable. Emma's mind raced, searching for the misstep, the word, the moment that had driven him to this merciless declaration. She had loved fiercely, trusted openly, given everything without hesitation. How could he dismantle all of that, leaving her with only echoes and shadows? Her lips parted, a desperate attempt to reach him, but no sound came. She only watched as he turned to gaze at the city skyline, shoulders rigid, as if he were severing their shared past with sheer force of will. The words lingered, burning into her memory, I don't love you. I never loved you. Every heartbeat became a struggle, every breath a reminder that some losses could not be undone, and some truths were crueler than any lie. Emma's chest tightened with every second that passed in silence. The room, once a symbol of their shared ambition and dreams, now felt like a courtroom, and she was the accused of a crime she didn't commit. Memories of late-night planning sessions, quiet reassurances, and small acts of love flashed before her eyes, each one now a bitter reminder of how easily they had been discarded. She wanted to scream, to demand answers, to shake him until he realized the depth of what he had just destroyed, but the strength to speak had deserted her. Instead, she felt the cold distance between them grow, a chasm formed not by time but by his words. William's back remained rigid, his gaze unwavering on the lights of the city, yet she could sense the subtle tension in his posture, the faint tremor in his jaw that betrayed a shadow of regret he refused to acknowledge. She took a slow, trembling step backward, fighting the urge to collapse, to let the grief overwhelm her entirely. Yet, beneath the anguish, a spark of resolve began to ignite. She would not allow his cruelty to define her. She would survive this. Whatever it took, she would rise from the ruins he had left behind. And in that moment, amidst the ache and despair, Emma realized that leaving, walking away without looking back, was her first act of reclaiming the life he had tried to steal. The elevator doors closed with a soft, final thud, sealing away the last image of him, cold, untouchable, and indifferent. Outside, the evening air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of rain and city life, but Emma barely noticed. Her tears flowed freely now, unrestrained by pride or fear. Each step she took felt like wading through invisible chains, memories of laughter and whispered dreams clinging to her like shadows she couldn't shake. She didn't know where she was going, only that she needed distance, space to breathe, to think, to survive. The streets blurred around her as the weight of betrayal pressed heavily on her chest. When she finally reached the safety of her apartment, her body gave way to exhaustion and sorrow. Sitting on the floor, knees pulled tight, she let the sobs consume her, echoing in the emptiness of her small sanctuary. Yet, amid the heartbreak, a quiet determination began to grow. She would not let this define her. She would rebuild, not for him, not for anyone, but for herself. Somewhere deep inside, she sensed that life had more to offer than the pain she had endured, and that in the ashes of loss, a new beginning quietly awaited, unseen but inevitable. Days turned into weeks, and the ache in Emma's heart began to sharpen into a quiet, determined focus. She left the city behind, its towering skyscrapers and relentless pace replaced by the gentle hum of a small town where no one knew her story, where she could breathe without judgment. Every morning, sunlight spilled over rooftops, washing her tiny apartment in soft gold, and with it came a fragile sense of hope. She found work at a local bakery, her hands learning the rhythm of kneading dough and crafting pastries while her mind replayed the echoes of his words. But in those quiet moments, a tiny seed of strength began to take root. She discovered a resilience she hadn't known existed, a courage born from having nothing left to lose. Nights were long, filled with exhaustion and silent reflection, but even in the dark, she promised herself that she would rise again. Each day, she whispered to the future she was building, to the life that would be hers alone, that she would not let bitterness or heartbreak define her. Somewhere deep inside she felt it, Life had a way of rewriting its own story, and she was ready to write hers, one deliberate step at a time. Years passed, and Emma transformed her quiet determination into a life filled with purpose and love. She welcomed the arrival of her twins, Liam and Oliver, whose tiny hands and innocent laughter became the heartbeat of her world. The early days were brutal, sleepless nights, relentless work, and a constant juggling of survival. But each challenge strengthened her, shaping a resilience that no heartbreak could ever break. She watched her sons grow, their bright eyes and curious spirits reminding her daily of the beauty that life could still hold even after loss. Slowly, she carved a space for herself, moving into a modest home, building a career, and creating a rhythm of life that was entirely her own. Yet, despite the warmth of this new chapter, fragments of the past lingered, the memory of his icy blue eyes, the sting of his rejection. But Emma refused to let these memories taint her present. She focused on what truly mattered: the love she nurtured, the joy she created, and the unshakable belief that her worth was never tied to anyone else's approval. And as she watched Liam and Oliver run through autumn leaves, giggling and full of life, she realized she had not just survived, she had thrived, rising above betrayal with a heart that refused to be broken. 5 years had passed since that night of heartbreak, and William Hunter's world, though filled with success, felt emptier than ever. His company thrived, his name commanded respect, yet every achievement tasted hollow. One evening, alone in his office, he stumbled upon a folder long forgotten. Her name, Emma Brooks, emblazoned on the top. Curiosity, tinged with regret, made his hands tremble as he opened it. Inside were fragments of the life he had abandoned, messages filled with warmth, hope, and unwavering devotion. Reading them, he felt the weight of every cruel word he had spoken, every moment he had dismissed, and the truth settled over him like a tidal wave. He had lost the most precious part of his life, and it was entirely his fault. The realization consumed him. The love he had feared, the vulnerability he had rejected, had never been the problem. It was his own fear and pride that had driven her away. Determined to make amends, he hired a private investigator, desperate to find her, not to demand forgiveness, but to confront the truth and, if fate allowed, to witness the life she had built without him. He did not know if she would welcome him, but he could no longer live with the silence of regret. Every moment he had lost screamed at him, and he vowed that this time, he would not let the chance slip away.